Hello and welcome to episode 7 of my devlog series for Crisis Arcana. Now, it has been a bit of a while since the last one, but that's because, well, I've been doing a lot this week. I've added a lot into it, as well as I've also had a birthday, so I've been mad busy. Well, as busy as I can be whilst we're still in lockdown, but that's beside the point. Since last time I've added in 2 major features, as well as the start of what is going to be a big part. The game now has chests which award the player with a lot of loot, as well as I've also added in a shop, so the user can now spend all that loot and gold which they had collected. I added in quite a lot of secondary stats for the player to upgrade in the shop, such as defense and modifiers to gold experience, as well as adding in a new currency called souls, which will be used to unlock spells for the players at a later date. That about sums it up. Let's get into it. I started by designing and modelling a simple chest texture. I then developed a script which would allow the user to interact with the chest. Upon interacting with a chest, then a certain number of loot will drop. I plan to allow the player to be able to increase the amount of number of loot that drops from the chests. The loot will always drop around the chest, but as to where exactly it drops will be random, and I made sure to remove the chance of 2 bits of loot dropping in the same place. The bits of loot that do drop are chosen randomly from a set list which I've already made. To finish it off, I decided just to make it so instead of picking up loot automatically by the player walking over it, they in fact now just have to, interact with the loot to pick it up. I then made a slight adjustment to the doors and the dark areas which cover the rooms. Now, when the player destroys a door, the room behind it is instantly revealed, allowing the player to see what they're going to be going into. Destroying the door will anger all the enemies in the room, and thus the player will have to fight them first. I added the chests into the room generation script and let it play, and they did show up in the room, so I found sometimes the chest would spawn on the portal, but then by interacting with the chest you would go through the portal and lose your loot. So I added in an exception to prevent that. I then made some changes to the end pop-up, which occurs when the player runs out of time or dies. I designed and added in a nice background scroll image instead of the plain brown square which there once was, and then I removed the retry button from the scroll. I felt like the retry button wasn't needed as much, since the player will want to spend all their hard-earned gold. I then started to rearrange the scroll and added in a new font to help make it look better. I also added in counters for the amount of money collected as well as the total run gold. Now the difference between these is the money collected is the literal amount of money you pick up, but the total run gold, that will be calculated based off of how many levels the user manages to get through before it ends, as well as a secondary modifier which the user can upgrade to increase their gold intake overall. I added in the feature for the gold to multiply by the amount of levels the player had been in, because I wanted them to feel like they're being rewarded more for getting further in a world. I was tempted to also have so the total gold gained would also be modified by the amount of enemies defeated, but I realised I didn't really want that to be the case. I felt like it meant players would prioritise some worlds over others, as some worlds will have more enemies, and more enemies would mean more money, and I didn't want people to prioritise worlds. I want everyone to explore every world equally. At the end of the run, the money is then calculated, and then when the player returns to the hub, it is transferred across and added to their overall total amount, which they can then spend on stuff. I decided to make some quick changes to the level up screen, so I started by adding in the scroll texture from earlier to it as well. I applied the new font and then rearranged everything and ended up with a result I'm much happier with. I added in a cauldron for the shop. When the user interacts with it, the shop screen pops up. I also gave myself quite a bit of cash just to test it all out. At the moment there are 4 things the user can invest their money into. The first is defense. Every time the user would take damage, that damage is reduced by every point of defense the player has. Next is a gold modifier, which increases the amount of gold the user will gain every level, as well as an experience modifier, which does the same for experience, and a souls modifier, which increases the amount of souls the player gets. I will talk more about souls in a little bit. If the user has enough money, then they can use the buttons to buy what they want. When they buy something, they receive the relevant modification to their stats, as well as the cost for the next upgrade increases. The text also updates to reflect these changes. I plan for souls/essences to be used as the way the player will unlock all the different spells which they can cast. In the future, the user will be able to go into the level up station and go into the schools of magic bit and then spend these souls in each school. The more souls they spend into a school, the more that school's spells the character unlocks. That concludes everything I've done since, but I think definitely for next episode I'm going to start working on one of the schools of magic. I'm unsure which school yet, but I'm looking forward into working on them. I have also noticed a couple issues whilst watching back this footage and whilst I was recording this final scene, in the fact that my defense was so high, the enemies were actually not dealing any damage to me whatsoever. I think that's a little bit too easy, so I might make it where if it gets to that point, then you only take 1 bit of damage instead of, well, 0. So that means it keeps a bit of a challenge to it. Also, when the player does die or time runs out, some of the text with all the modifiers goes off the scroll. I'm gonna have to work around that. I'm gonna have to mess around and make it work out, which shouldn't take too long, to be honest. Once again, I'm sorry for it being a bit longer than the last time between videos, but as I said, I put in quite a lot this time. Like, I added a lot into this one, and then it was my birthday, so, you know, been quite busy this past week. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're enjoying the progress I'm making. If you want more, then happily subscribe. If you want to comment down a bit of feedback, if you have any questions, go on right ahead. I'm more than open to it. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Next episode should definitely be in 3 to 4 days. I'll try and get back on that. That's it. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.